What is going on, comic book familia? We are back with another segment of comic culture. Dan, it's our fourth video and our second live.
I forgot how that we were going live, so I didn't know if I
Yeah,
should present myself well. I clean up well every so often, but I'm
yeah,
glad I did for this episode.
yeah. I went back in a couple of my videos, and it's been 4 months since we started. I
Yes,
was like,
yes.
"Dang, that's crazy." And last time we were on, Dan and I said, we want to bring somebody on, somebody that we both know and like, and is a good guy. And Nando, we thought about you, and we're so glad you're on our show.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for thinking of me and thinking that I'm someone that's liked, so that's appreciative too.
So yeah, Nando, this obviously is comic culture, and hopefully you like it. And anytime you want to come back, we'll see how this segment goes. Is you may get sick of us after a couple of hours. I'm never coming on again. But this is an open invitation. If you want to come on again, just let me know.
I appreciate that.
So we're going to talk a little bit with Nando first before we do our usual segments. And Nando, I know recently you started being a vendor. You went to the other side, so to speak.
I did. I went to the dark side. It was about 7 or 8 months ago, I had the idea or the crazy thought process of creating a brick and mortar store or a business of being a vendor or a retailer. I have 22 plus years of experience in retail, 19 of those in management, and I felt there's an opportunity in the community that I can kind of fill. So with putting service first and understanding that without people, we don't have a business. Because if there's no people, there's no readers, there's no buyers, there's no collectors. So you have to understand that this is the people first business. So doing that, I did my very first show last November at Near Mint Sundays. That was my very first one. And I did pretty well, for the first show I ever did. It was one single table. And then I got the bug. And then I started going to the shows as a buyer with my eyes open on what can I procure, what can I grab. And we went to that, and then I did another Near Mint Sunday. I got to two tables. You can actually see in that picture right up there. That was my first setup at two tables. And what's funny is looking at it now, I'm going, man, there's so much work to be done on that display. And then, we had a garage sale in my community. You can see my son with the long boxes with my banner set up outside my garage. And then I had my first big break at Ontario. This is so these pictures you can see there. So you have Tom Waltz, Kelly Jones, and Scott Lobdell right there as well too. Those were all from WonderCon and Shortbox Live. I took the trip up to Shortbox Live, left at 2 a.m, drove to Santa Clara, did the whole gig. Hit a LCS out in Los Gatos, and then drove home. Was home by 10 o'clock at night that same day, because I wanted to get the branding out there. I wanted to see what do other vendors look like, what are other shows happening, right? Like what's going on, what can I learn from everybody. And then my big show, which Efren, you were there and you got to see me at Ontario Comic-Con Revolution.
Yes.
So I set up for my first big, what they call a big show, and I had a 10x10. I got a lot of compliments on my booth setup, on the way it looked, the way it presented, on the way it was shoppable, and obviously with the books that I had, plus also the prices. We have to we as vendors, hopefully I start speaking well for the community on this side of it, but we have to understand that it's not 2022, it's not 2021 anymore, and we have to adjust, right? And we have to understand that if we are going to continue to bring people in our doors and into our tables, we have to be as such. We have to know that we have to put out good deals. We have to put out good service and good opportunity for people to want to come back. Yes, we still want to make some money. There you go. We want to make money, but the idea is to send joy one book at a time, right? That's the idea, is that this is an escapism for people. This is to get away from their realities or whatever problems or troubles they're having. It's a hobby. Hobbies are supposed to be fun. So we have to make sure that we provide that environment, that it's a fun hobby. Gatekeeping is something of the past, and I'm starting to see more and more vendors away from that. I'm the new kid on the block, technically, and it's funny to consider myself a kid, but I'm the new guy on the block, and a lot of vendors have been very open to me. They've been very receptive, very informative to me, educating me in the process on some things. And what's funny is that because of that, I've gotten invites to other shows. I just recently got invited to do Comics and Cocktails, which was a week ago, this past weekend. in Canoga Park. So I had an opportunity to do that, and it was a show that was inside of an Elks Club. So it was a very interesting setup. It was a full open bar. So the idea was to outlast everybody who was drinking, so that way you would get the better sales at the end of the night. But they shout out to We Can Be Heroes Comics. They're the ones who set everything up with the show, and they did a really great job out there. And they're planning on doing other shows, which I already told them. I said, please count me in. It was a lot of fun to be a part of that and grow in the community. Plus, all my shows that I've done so far have been in Orange County. I was trying to expand the brand, get some notoriety out there in the LA market. The goal right now that I have for TNK Comics is to do my first big 3 show next year. I'm applying for WonderCon, so I want to see if I can get a table at WonderCon and be out there. So it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. My background in retail and management and development and visuals and coordinating and things like that, it comes to play inside when we're setting up booths and we're setting up areas and things like that. But the one thing that travels, no matter where it is, what it is the guest service part of it, right? How we talk to people and how we handle people. And, you see certain vendors out there that somebody makes you an offer and it's $5 less than what you're asking for. And people are like, no, I'm good. Like, no, man, come on. Like, you're not gonna make or break yourself over a $5 part of a book. Yeah. And what's more important is that person feels like they got the deal. They're going home happy. They're going to tell people that they bought something from you. They're going to search you out at the next several shows. They're going to follow you on Instagram. And especially in today's society with social media, you got to be good to people, because people will not hesitate to call you out if you've been really bad to them. And as so, like, you deserve it if you're going to be a jerk to people. Like, you need to be able to promote the positive side of everything. And I don't know everything. I don't think I know. I don't know everything about it. Like, I do my best to learn. One of our really good friends, Comic Book Crackhead, he gifted me a Marvel encyclopedia because he knows that I need the background work. So shout out to you. Thank you, Jaw. But other than that, it's been a lot of fun. I've learned so much in the short time frame. The comic community has been very good to me and taking me in and being kind to me, as I've been hoping to be kind and offer some books for people too.
Now, when I seen you at Ontario, I was, I'm a little bit older than you, so I was so proud of you. I go, man, you have your own booth, basically. You're a vendor there, and I'm glad, I bought a couple of books off of you. But other people that buy books from you, do they ever, try to, obviously, when I go to comic book cons, people saying, a book's for sale at this amount of money. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, would you buy it for this? I mean, would you sell it for this amount? You obviously, you must get that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, and we go into it, I think, looking at where you price a book. Like, for me, I do like a 3-prong kind of attack. Like, when I price a book, I'll look at the last 3 sales on eBay. I'll average that out. I'll look at what it's going for on Comic Collector. on Key Collector. I'll look at on Go Collect. I'll look at all of that and see kind of where the ranges are. Obviously, the market, books are the market. It's a physical liquid market. They go up, they go down, and they go down fast, and they go up fast. Yeah. And you have to be willing to adjust right then and there. So for me, when I prep for a show, whether my books and all my bins are priced already, I'm going through my bins, because my black cases are my show bins, right? So they go with me wherever I go. So that means I have to go through the books before I put them out, because if somebody comes at me and says, hey, you have that FF 112 for $180. Would you take 150? Right? I have to understand that, oh, you know what? It just was down to about 160 in value. So if somebody's saying 150, I should have either been able to price that down already or meet them at that point, because you know what? It's fair, right? I have to make sure that I'm trying to stay fair with it.
Now, do you say you have a book that, it's a good book and somebody lowballs you, do you negotiate with them, obviously, and try to get the price closer to what you want to sell it at? Or do you say, no, I'm not selling you this book?
Okay, so the PC answer to that is you always want to negotiate. The true answer behind that is, for me, look, be fair. I tell everybody when you come to my table, like, look, everything's negotiable. I just want the book to go home. And if you're going to lowball me to the point where that's just a ridiculous offer, then I'm going to just tell you, no, that's too low. And if I have other people at my booth to help, I'm going to help them. I'm going to go talk to them, because by you giving me that such a lowball offer, you're not serious, and therefore I'm not going to take you serious until you come to me with a real offer. Now, if you come at me and tell me, like, my book, let's say, just for an example, right? I had FF52 on my wall recently, right? And it's like a 3.0, 3.5 grade. I had it listed at 475. Now, if somebody came at me and said, "Hey, would you take 425?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not out of my ballpark for where I want to be, but that's something that I'm listening to, and I might tell them, "Hey, meet me at maybe 450 or 445." Do that. I want to be somewhere where it's fair, and I still want you to get the book, but don't come at me and tell me that for 475 you're offering me 175, because then I'm just going to shake my head and walk away from you.
Yeah. So before we go any further, everybody who's watching our video right now, I appreciate it, and I'm giving a shout out to my daughter. She said I had to, or else. So. I think we have one more picture of you and your family. I love this picture.
Yeah,
this is the whole Nando Knight family.
Yeah, that's the Bat family, I guess you could say. So in my arms is my little daughter Harley.
Nice.
Yeah, my son Fernando the fourth, who goes by 4, and then my first and foremost, my amazingly talented, beautiful wife, who, if it wasn't for her, T&K wouldn't have been off the ground and wouldn't have been started, because she's the one who's literally greenlit everything I've done. So whether it was buying a 23 long box collection and having faith in me to pay it back within 5 weeks, or saying, "Okay, yes, you can use my car," which I've probably trashed more than I should have ever done in before, for show to go to show. Without her, none of this would have been happening. So shout out to my wife for all that.
I was going to ask you that, your wife, I'm sure you talked to your wife before you even started all of this. And, and I'm glad, she said, yes, but it's awesome what you're doing. I'm really, like I said, I'm proud of you. And I don't seem like a dad figure, but I am proud of what you're doing, man. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, my only thoughts is that you're going to be learning way more than you probably thought possible getting into this venture, knowing the market, knowing the ins and outs, comics you've never seen before, and the history behind them, that kind of thing. Because you'll be getting requests from, let's say I stumbled into something years ago called Oscar Comics from the mid or late 40s. I had no idea what they were, and I found something that was a flaw in the Overstreet price guide. It's a rare thing to find, but I found it. And also, as you say, negotiating with people. But my advice to you as a longtime collector is that the people I've stuck with over the years, the decades, people like, I'll shout out A1 Comics out of Sacramento, California. I remember the original owner. He was a very nice man. He had one store, but he was reliable. And he was everything he put forward was usually, if he said it was a 5.0, he would mark it as a 4.0. That way, there was no argument about the condition of the book. The price was fair, and you're going to find, because I'm self-employed, you're going to work with some people, and some people you're just not going to work with. But just be persistent. And again, reliability and trust is everything in this community.
And one more thing, talk to people. Just have a good attitude. Sometimes I go to some vendors and they just, they're kind of grumpy or something, but to me, that goes a long way. Just being nice to a person. Makes me want to buy a book off of them.
I watch a lot of YouTube, and there was a show I was watching the other day. Pardon me. And a guy went to a con, and he talked to one vendor, and the more they talked, the more he realized that he said he wasn't a comic reader. He just buys and sells the stuff, so there's no love, no passion for it. And he was one of the hardest people to deal with because it's just strictly business. See, I have a true love for comics, and you seem to have a true love for comics. That goes a long way, because you could connect to someone like me who's the purchaser. We can have a great conversation about the comic, the storyline, the whole thing, and in the end, make a transaction. So again, never lose that connection.
So quick, I'll give you a couple quick little stories. One. There was a guy who came to my booth at Ontario. He's actually a comedian out in Los Angeles area. And he came up to me and he said, I really want something indie. I'm looking for something different, something I've never read before. And I had just happened to come upon a 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 of Department of Truth. And I said, here, take number. I said, here's Department of Truth. This is a whole storyline about, the whole secret society, the things that are undercover that the government doesn't want you to know. Right. And he was like, oh, okay, I can get behind something like that. And I gave him book 1. I just gave it to him. I said, here's 1. I said, read it. I said, read it and come back to me. If you like it, come buy another book. And I said, if you don't like it, then tell me I was trash and I gave you the wrong book. Yeah. And he was like, So he goes away, and in 10 minutes, he says, I didn't even read the book. He goes, but I need to buy books from you. And I was like, why? He goes, because I walked this floor and nobody was nice enough to even talk to me or put on with me to a conversation. And I was like, okay. And so he bought more books, so which was great. And the other thing is too, like, you'll see vendors, and this could be just a retail thing for me. But you'll see when they give you booths and tables and stuff, they give you chairs. I don't sit at my booth. I stand the whole time because there's always something to do, right? Whether you're re-alphabetizing, you're repricing, you're talking, you're grabbing inventory, you're adjusting something. There has to be something to do, because just like when you would walk into a retail store, people don't want to see you just standing there or just sitting there doing nothing, because then it looks like you're waiting for them versus being busy. And then people seeing that you're busy, they come up to you and they're like, oh, you're engaging and you're talking. One of the big things I've done in my booth, every big show, is I have a raffle at my show. So I always have a raffle, whether it's a minor key or just a slab book or a yellow label. There's 3 things you have to do in my raffle. 1, you have to buy a book. Doesn't matter what book you buy, you just buy a book. It could be a $3 book. It could be a $300 book. Number 2, you follow me on Instagram at the Nando Knight. And number 3, the biggest, most important thing you do is you cross your fingers and you hope you win. Yeah. And when I get people with the third one, when I tell them, cross your fingers and hope you win, they giggle or they smirk or they laugh a little bit. And that's the icebreaker that you've gotten to be able to open them up. You've gotten able to talk to them, and now you're engaged with them. So you have an opportunity to create that environment for them. So I think that's where I'm at with it. It's building. I think I'll be attending San Diego Comic-Con this year. On the lookout for books. August 626 Con, I believe, I will be attending as a vendor. September, I have potentially 2 shows. One with We Can Be Heroes Comics, and then the other one will be out in Temecula, where I'm at, because that's where we're getting ready to open home base at, basically. And we're going to try to do a show in my backyard to kind of build brand recognition and development. And then November, we'll have Near Mint Sunday again. And then December, I'll be at LA Comic-Con as a buyer. And then the big show again next year, WonderCon, is what we are planning to have a big setup. So I'm working.
I got a 4th thing you can ask him to do. Tell him to subscribe to my channel, and But one more thing before I show a quick video of your booth. Dan, my daughter wants your shield, your Captain America shield. So just
Well, I've had that thing for a long. There's a history behind that. So hey, if you don't mind, before we get to the video, can we shout out the chat? There's some really good people that have popped on.
Yes, let's start from the beginning. First off, we have Dr. Von Hoot. He's all the way in the UK, and thank you so much.
That's right.
Oh, no kidding! Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah. We have Comics and Tortillas. And
great name.
Now I'm hungry.
Somebody else said that in the chat.
We got your buddies over there in Spine Ticks, Dan.
Hey, it's a huge shout out to Sith Lord, one of the loveliest people in all the community. He's so generous. Always tries to help people out. I'm his unofficial ambassador on the show. Yeah. Sith, great to see you, man. I will be on your show on Saturday.
He's got a great show on Saturdays. I watch it, all the time. So it's a good show. And who else do we have here?
Got Houdat.
Yeah, where is Houdat? I thought I'd seen him on here.
Yeah, he's on there. He's out there. And K-pop.
Let me see here. Let me go down the line here. Scientix, K-pop.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Where's your nemesis, MF Stuntman? MF Stuntman, we used to have a thing. Every time we used to see each other on social media, like on Whatnot or other videos, like on Instagram, we would tell each other to get out.
That's great.
Let me see. Here's my daughter. Always.
Attention.
Who dat? There we go.
Hey, Ian.
Hey, who dat?
That's one smart man.
Yeah, he is. I want to give I don't know if I chose this one here. Oh, it's Who Dat. It says Cash is Still King. I know it's about talk. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Ian Hoodrat Comics. Without him, I wouldn't have met you two guys, because I met you two guys on his channel. I'm so glad I met you guys. And now we got a quick video of Nando's booth.
That was from Ontario. This one was Near Mint. So that was the last Near Mint.
All right.
Ontario.
How long did it take to set up?
For Ontario, it took me about an hour and 20 minutes. So all the books are numbered, all the boxes are numbered and alphabetized. So
Wow.
when you break them down out of the thing, I'm the worst person for prep because I over prep, and all my friends tell me that I need to calm down and relax because I'm always like, what about this? Should I do this? What do you think about this? Can I do this? And can I add that? And they're all like, Dando, you got it. Like, just relax. And then they see the booth and they're like, we hate you. Like, they were like, this is my friends. And, you know, shout out to my friends, Comic Cave, Collection Connection, Fuzzy Fat Man Comics, Make Havoc, all of those guys. They all tell me, they're like, you're coming from a different point of view, like into this business now, right? Like a lot of collectors have too much stuff, so they have to sell their stuff, right? This is how they get into it. You're literally creating a retail business to supply the comic books for people, right? Because you're a fan of it and you love it, but you also enjoy the retail side of everything. Like, I've done retail since I was 15 and a half. Like, it's all I've ever known in my life. And to take it and now turn it to a passion, because as you guys were talking about learning new things about comics, it all started with my dad. My dad was born in 1944, and my dad came here from Brazil in the 50s. And my dad would read Superman comics because that's what he thought the United States was about. Like, that's how it looked. So when he got here, my dad's Mr. Superman. Like, that is everything about him. Probably why I chose Batman, because it was the other side of it, but still in line with it to be a part of it. So, you know, you learn a lot of things. And, you know, I had a love for the Superman serials back from the 40s, like, you know, and, you know, my dad would have me watch the VHS tapes when I was a kid. So, but that's where it all stemmed from. And, you know, to kind of have it now and to kind of build my own thing and know that I have something coming up from behind for my kids, you know, it helps. Like, it's funny, there's pictures of my wife taking pictures of me from what my back is turned, where my daughter is holding a book, trying to put it in one of the bins. And my son is like holding a short box, like trying to walk with a short box. So, you know, they're as part of much of this as I am. And every time I go out there, it's like I'm representing myself, my business, and my brand, but also my family, because eventually it's going to be something that we build to leave behind. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So now let's get going with our regular segments. First one is comic book news. All of us chose either a comic book or something related to comic books that we just want to talk to. And I am up first. I've been reading this book, Superman Lost. I just picked it up on a whim, and it's really good. I mean, I highly recommend this book. Basically, he says he's on a routine Justice League mission. Lois awakens to find a complete stranger standing in their living room. The Man of Steel, home much sooner than expected, reveals he has in fact been lost in space for 20 years. And he's basically like shocked. You know, he's lost. It's a good title for, you know, he's lost in space, but something that happened with the Justice League mission. And when he got home, to him, he's been gone for 20 years. So everything is strange to him now, and it's just going through, you know, what he's doing to try to get back to a normal life. And at the same time, it's showing what he had to do to finally get back to Earth. It's a really good story. I highly recommend it. You know, I picked it up on a whim.
I love that concept. Is this when did this book come out? You know,
it just came out like about 4 months ago. You know, like I said, I just picked it up on a whim and I started reading it. I went, dang! And obviously, I love this. It's an awesome looking cover. I just went, damn, this is a good story. I mean, you know, Superman is Superman. Hardly anything can hurt him, but his mind, his brain is just like anybody else's. You know, he's been traumatized. You know, and it goes from there. It's a very good storyline. My next subject is San Diego Comic-Con. Nando talked about it briefly. It's coming up in a month. So I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be like Dan asked me about how many times if I had gone before, and I go, yeah, it's going to be like my 30th time going, you know, and I can't wait. It's in about a month, basically. First is preview night. And I'm also, last year I did a panel for San Diego Comic-Con, and I was fortunate enough I'm going to be doing another one this year also, talking about my YouTube channel with a couple of my friends. So, you know, It's going to be awesome. Yep. And
so Nando, you're going to Comic-Con as well, but you're not going as a vendor. You're just going to look.
No. Okay. Yeah, I'm going as a buyer. So like usually I go. This year I have all the days except Wednesday, except preview night, because the past years when they do the San Diego Comic-Con Museum Gala event, my wife and I are very fortunate enough to attend that event every year. So we will be there this year when they induct a new hero into the Hall of Fame, which there hasn't been any word yet. So we'll see what happens this year. Last year was Spider-Man.
Yes.
The year before they had it, before that was actually Batman. So we'll see what happens this year.
That's good. Yeah, I remember you showed us a picture of you and your wife on the red carpet. I went, dang, man, that looks
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it's a lot of fun. It's a shout out to my friend Keith and Erica. They are the best. This event is so much fun. Actually, if fingers crossed, we're hoping for TNK to actually become endowment members for the museum because it's just a way to help keep everything around too for us.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, if you do go again, send me pictures. I love seeing you and your wife on the red carpet. I went, dang it, maybe I should go there. I was saying to hang out with you instead of sitting on cement waiting to go inside.
It's a lot of fun. You get to be fancy
man.
and dress up for a night, so it's nice.
Dan, you're up next.
Well, as one of the senior members of the community, I've read this book before, but there's an old saying that if you haven't read something in 10 or 20 years, you read it again. It's almost like reading it for the first time. And the reason why is as you get older, you start looking at yourself differently, the world around you differently. And the stories that others tried to relay sort of come alive because you didn't recognize or see things about the story that you didn't see at the time when you first read it. This is a late Silver Age book. Again, my experienced opinion is any Marvel Silver Age that's 2010s or below is Silver Age. This is 1970. Submariner 22. This is a Roy Thomas story. Now, this is a pre-Defender story, and Roy Thomas was sort of gearing up for that team, the Defenders. That idol at the very bottom right corner is called the Nameless One, and so Doctor Strange recruits the Submariner to find that idol. And again, there's many storylines that this crosses over with Hulk storyline, Hulk 126, I believe. I don't know if it was in the Doctor Strange movie, but anyway, series rather. But this is just a great read. This is Marie Severin art, by the way. She did the artwork on I think on the cover and certainly on the inside. One of the most underappreciated, probably one of the few female artists of the day. She had incredible art, and the detail is exceptional. I know there's more modern art today, but I'm sorry, I love the old school. Look how colorful that book is,
Yep.
the detail to attention. But well, I bring this up as well because one of the still to this day an unsung hero is Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas was the first editor-in-chief after Stan Lee. He was building what he had built out on the Silver Age, wanted to put that to the big screen, so he had to surrender the editor-in-chief role, which he gave to Roy Thomas. I think he trusted him more than anyone else. An absolutely fabulous writer. Certainly, I recommend this. The entire run. It's wonderful. But I'll let you know when I finish this again if I see anything I didn't see from before. But that's what I'm on right now, and I'm a slow reader, by the way. I'm a very slow reader. So
I just love older books, just the smell of them. I mean, that's history, you know.
hey, I'm just taking in the aroma. It really was. So my wife looks at me stupid. Why are you smelling that book? I'm like, oh, hey, this is history.
It is. Look who showed up. We're talking about, you know.
Hey, we know this guy.
What's up, dude?
Yeah,
Love you, man. How you doing, Ian?
Can't wait to have you back on my channel, man. All right, Nando, you are up next.
Okay, so Dark Knights of Steel is more of a modern book that started out in November of last year. It's by Tom Taylor in the storyline, and it's basically if you were to throw DC Universe into Camelot or Game of Thrones style, basically. And it basically deals with the Trinity as the main focus, obviously, and anything, and then the surrounding characters behind it. You get anywhere from Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Wonder Woman. You have Supergirl. You have Green Arrow. You have Green Lantern. You have Amanda Waller. You have John Constantine. You have everybody is involved, and it is very much the backstabbing of the backstabbing and the different kingdoms that go on.
Yeah.
You actually have Black Lightning. It has what they call the Kingdom of Storms. You have the Elves, and then you have the Amazons, right? So you have the different territories are all basically about to go to war because one person has been able to create this whole system to where everybody's trying to kill everybody. There is a very big plot twist within the idea of the Trinity, where the two Batman and Superman have always been at each other's kind of like back and forth, have always had each other's backs, but in a different way. This story really kind of intertwines them together in a way that you wouldn't have expected. It's on issue number 11, which it's waiting for the final issue of 12 to come out in next week, I believe, June 26th or 25th, I think that's the week it comes out for the final issue. If you want to grab it and read it, I would say wait for the collected issue to come out for the whole thing so you can get it all done in one shot. But the art was really well done. There was a lot of special variants that came out for it, which they paid a lot of attention to the detail of like the old Camelot style. But overall, this was something that was really fun for me to read because, you know, you get so stuck in the regular stories that we get all the time. I like the Elseworld style stories sometimes. I think DC does a really good job with that when they put a lot of attention into it. I will say, you know, I don't always want to say positive things about books, but there was one negative in this storyline that I had, and it was the break that it took between February and April. It was a long break, and it kind of made me disconnect from the story. And then when I found out that they were back, I was already like, oh, I'm 3 issues behind. I got to catch up. Yeah. So if we would have had more consistency on that, I think it would have been something that would have been one of the best books of the year.
I was just about to mention that because I too started reading this book and I really enjoyed it. But when there's gaps, like more than a month, I just lose interest and I forget, you know, that it's coming out again. I'm glad you brought this book up because I'm going to, like I said, I think I read the first 5 or 6 issues. Like, oh, this is good. The interaction you said between Superman and Batman. And I believe Batman had powers too, right? He found out that he was a...
I didn't want to spoil it too much, but there's the there is the idea that let's just say Jor-El is not as wholesome of a dad as he thinks he is. So there's some things that happen.
We got some more comments here. Let me pull some up here. Let's see what it said.
I will say, out of that storyline though, I really appreciated the you know, you have the liaisons for the court basically, and you had Harley as one of them and Constantine as another, and hearing them bicker back and forth at each other was hilarious to me because of the way that they would go after it.
By the way, shout out to Dr. Von Hoot. It's 4:30 a.m. where he's at. Dude, we can't think it. We owe you something. We got to send him a gift or something.
Well, I know he works at night. They told me, my friend told me that he works at night, so he's up at this time. But you guys got to go check out Dr. Von Hoot's YouTube channel. It's very good and entertaining. You know, I really like his channel. So I'm not saying that because we're friends. It's just very entertaining. We got one from Hudat. He said he's Hero for Hire 9. I just reread. Love that story. Yeah, sounds good. You know, Hero for Hire. Which one is that? Number 9? I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Have you guys?
I just got back into the Hero for Hire. Those are some great underappreciated books. I got the one with Dr. Doom owes him $600, and he steals a multi-million-dollar pogo plane from the Fantastic Four because he didn't like to get stiffed. That's the kind of guy he was. A great story. One of the best stories I've ever read. It was hilarious. But no, the Hero for Hire it should be required reading.
We got a comment here from Comics and Tortillas. Very good story. Sad it got delayed. Yeah, you know, it just loses its gas. You know, you lose interest. I just forget. Like, oh my god, I didn't even know it was back. You know, so I'm going to catch up that. I'm going to catch up with that. Let me see what else here. Might read that on the DC app. Looks interesting. Let me see. We got another message from Comics and Tortillas. It's Tom Taylor. You got the best artist for that writer. We got another one from Who Dat. Is where he beats up Dr. Doom. Cool.
I wonder if it's the same issue.
For $200. Okay. So our next segment is a Dan special. I said, Dan, you want to pick a segment where to just talk about things that interest you or something that's come up recently? He said, sure. And I kind of stole this from Ian when you were on Ian's channel, you know. So I said, Dan, I'm going to, you know, piggyback on him and see what Dan has to talk about. So this one is called Dan Talks Comics. Nando, most of the time, me and you get to relax and just hear him talk, but we can interject if we want to. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is an open discussion. It's not just a whole segment. And I want to streamline this versus what I did on Ian's show. So,
yeah. All right. You're up.
Well, the big news is that Universal Studios finally is yielding. I guess I don't know what the contracts were signed regarding the possession of the Hulk character. As my understanding is, it had a 15-year life to it. Then once the 15 years expires, which I believe it expires this year, that reverts back to Marvel. Now that's a huge element because Marvel, I'm certain, wanted to do a whole variety of things with one of the most popular characters in their series, but they couldn't. So this changes everything because all he could do up till this point was ensemble movies. I think there was one movie in 2008 that was one with Ang Lee. It was absolutely awful. Again, I'm the biggest Hulk fan, and I know the storyline, his stories inside and out. There was a lot of disappointments, and also the other movie, I forget that actor who's Bruce Banner. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. And look at the Abomination. That's horrid. I mean, that's from like a C, horror movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, finally they got their act together when they brought I'm drawing a blank on his name, who's from the Avengers, who's doing it now.
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo, I think, was a fantastic choice, for Bruce Banner. But now that the She-Hulk story sort of brought him back, I think there's a lot of things that you probably should start looking into right now, because a lot of people haven't looked at the Hulk storyline, just like a lot of people haven't looked at the Fantastic Four storyline. I'm talking about the comics, because there hasn't been any real movie. So these are some you recognize. These are classics. Some are very pricey, but I think worth getting. Let's start here right with Tales to Astonish number 93. That's the aforementioned Maurice Severin cover art. God, beautiful artist and a great story. That is literally the first story that the Silver Surfer was written in outside of the Fantastic Four. Stan Lee had loved the Silver Surfer more than any other creation, and he had very strict guidelines. You were not allowed to write regarding the Silver Surfer without his permission. This is the first time they go outside of the Fantastic Four in this issue here. It's an absolute dynamite and kind of hard to get in high grade. I have a couple of nice mid-high grade ones. Another one is now that Hercules is here in the Thor movies, another issue is Tales to Astonish 79. Great battle with the two of them. Hulk and the Hercules just go at it left and right. They're traded punches. An underappreciated book, also kind of hard to find in high grade because of the red cover. In fact, a lot of these Tales to Astonish books were kind of, I hate to say it, throwaways at the time. I remember going back to my comic store in Berkeley called Comic Relief, and they were always tattered. You rarely found a good one, but the storylines were just outstanding. And you got the bonus storyline with the Submariner, something I'm also backtracking. We'll talk about that later. Now, with the Hulk himself, his love interest was this character here, written beautifully by Roy Thomas and Harlan Ellison, probably one of the best science fiction writers in the business. That is Hulk number 140, first appearance of Jarella. Now, I was hoping they would touch on the Jarella storyline when they did the last Ant-Man movie, because issue Hulk 156 was Krylar's first appearance. That was the follow-up to this story here, but this was a dynamite story. Very hard to get in high grade. It's getting pricier. If you want a just decent raw book, it's probably about $40. But I have a nice 9.6 white pages, and you need to get, by the way, Avengers 88. That's where the storyline begins. It continues in Hulk 140. I just love the character, and if they are bringing back the Hulk, I'd be shocked if they don't bring Jarella sometime in the future.
I hope they bring back Angry Hulk more than just the Hulk.
See, that's the Hulk I grew up with. The
Yeah.
more primitive Hulk. He was a loving child, but he had a childlike mind, but still he had that incredible power and the anger and rage.
Yeah.
Some inexpensive books here and under the radar, but I think you can get them for a very, very reasonable price. This is Fantastic Four 167. I think I showed 166 as well. Though you have to get one, you can't get one without the other. That's I won't spoil it, but the Thing and Hulk kind of team up for a little while. I won't tell you how or why, but those are very reasonably priced. And with the Fantastic Four on the way, there's going to be some Thing Hulk battles, but that's one very, very reasonable. To the center is Hulk 141. That is the first appearance of Doc Samson. That is a Herb Trimpe and I forget, it's not Marie Severin. Her husband was also an artist, so they combined in some of these issues here. But Doc Samson was a main player in the Hulk storyline. That's getting a little pricey to get one of those, maybe $100, $150 for a decent copy. But I think depending on what how they play that in the MCU, it won't be a bad idea to get your hands on that. To the right is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. Again, Marie Severin at her best. Hulk 104, gorgeous cover. And I had always loved the Rhino. The two of them square off in one of the best battles ever. And I started to, you're supposed to root against the villain. I was actually cheering for the Rhino in this one. He showed true heart in this. And later on I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, he sort of turns his life around, becomes a hero. Yeah. I love this character in this. That's a bit of a pricey book. Not too expensive, but just get it for the story and that gorgeous, gorgeous cover. Next, we have another classic. Look at this. Hulk 131, not very expensive book, but that's Iron Man battling Greenskin with the classic Iron Man armor. First appearance of Jim Wilson, not a minor key. Again, I just got it because it's just a gorgeous cover, and it's always fun to see two heavyweights going against each other. Can't go wrong having that. To the center is Hulk 102, very expensive book. It's you're going to have a tough time getting a very high grade. I do have a potential. I'm going to send it to EGS Comics. I have a very high grade. I think it's white pages. That book is so good, it felt like it came off the shelf, and I was afraid suddenly because I've got this very expensive book in my hands and I don't want to touch it for anytime you open something like that from 1968 and it's that pretty. It may be a 9.4, possibly a 9.6. I'll talk to Tony Trombata. Shout out to EGS. That's going to be sent to him in short order. And for the Hulk 102 book, you have to get the Hulk 101. That's the last of the series from the Tales to Astonish. Hulk goes into Asgard. Great story and great artwork. These are just fun reads. These are childhood favorites. That's far less expensive than Hulk 102, but certainly worth having in your collection.
Quick question for Nando. You just mentioned, Dan, about touching books. Nando, when somebody comes to your booth, how many times do they say, can I open up, can I take it out of its protective sleeve and touch it, to see if everything's intact? How do you feel about that? Do you like it, or just saying you guys better not mess it up?
Well, it's actually not as often as you may think. One, I think I don't have that level inventory yet, to where I have those major keys yet. I think, once you have higher graded books, I don't have a book on my shelf. I think I maybe have 2 books that are in the 4 digits. Right now, the rest of them are all in like 3-digit levels at the max. But you have a couple books like that. But I had somebody had a 181. I had a 180 on my wall at Ontario, and it was missing a staple, but it had the Marvel value stamp. And he was like, "Can I just see the whole thing just to make sure it looks good?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So I opened it up myself. I laid it out on top of the things, and then I opened it up to the Marvel value stamp so he could see that it was there. And then he lifted it, looked at the staple, and then once he saw it, he was like, "It's the stamp is there. That's all I care about." And he put it back down. I put it back in the bag, and he went and got money and gave me cash.
Nice.
I have a stroll. There's some comics shops that do that. They will open them themselves, and that's totally fine. I get that. I'm extremely ginger with every comic. I will go out and I have this I'm methodic about washing my hands always. Have clean, dry hands when you handle any of these things, because hand oil, lotion, whatever, which I don't use lotion except in the wintertime when it's I got dry, cracked skin, that kind of thing. Anything gets on the paper, especially these Silver Age classics, it doesn't come off. So you have to be very, very careful with them. So that's just my 2 cents of caution. So let's go on to these other books here. That's the aforementioned 166, Fantastic Four. You had the 2 dovetail with each other. Great classic story. Well, not necessarily a classic story, but it's very, very affordable. And those were just fun reads at a reasonable price. I do think they're going to go up in price. I think it's simply a matter of time. That team up with them to the center, look at that, this is gorgeous art. And It was fun to see them interact, as the old Hulk and Ben Grimm, who he had a change. I won't spoil it for you if you've never read it, but it was just a fun storyline. To the top, though, Hulk 122 is one of the really underappreciated Thing versus Hulk battles. I'd always loved the Thing versus Hulk battles and Thor versus Hulk battles as a child, just because love those 2 heavyweights going at each other. This has been very reasonably priced. It's still reasonably priced. It's a very colorful issue. Perhaps not the best battle, but again, it's just a fun read and looks great in anyone's collection. To the right is an extremely expensive book. That is Fantastic Four number 12, the first time they meet. Not necessarily a battle. They throw a couple of punches, but that is super, super hard to get in any grade. Even low grades, you're talking 4 figures here. I was lucky enough, because of diligence, and I just kept looking. I found a 1.5, what CGC classifies as an apparent 1.5. Yes, it's restored. It's got tape on it, all the rest of it, but it is complete, and it is a solid, well-presented cover. I got it for $300.
Wow.
So if you look hard enough, you can find this kind of stuff, but you have to be extremely diligent. No, it's not a 8.0 white pages or even higher, but you know what? I didn't pay that much for it, and it's in my collection, an absolutely solid grail. But if you can find it, don't hesitate. to grab that, because again, they're extremely hard to find in decent shape.
It's
Next,
so yeah.
next we have this is more Hulk early storyline after they moved from Tales to Astonish. That's just a great battle with him and his arch nemesis, the Leader. These are great fun stories here. You should get. I'm just showing one of many. I would systematically get the entire run if you can, and get familiar with the Hulk storyline. I grew up with this as a child. I think these are incredible reads. Just great artwork. And again, you have to love the character, which I do. The Hulk will always be my first and favorite love regarding character. To the Center is a book that you should have got your hands on it while you could. Speaking of the Leader, that's his first full appearance. He has his first brief appearance in Tales to Astonish 62. That is Tales to Astonish 63. I don't know how. I found 2 beautiful high-grade copies, again, that'll be sent off to EGS Comics. That's my slabbing company. So I'll let you know what kind of grade I get. These are just, again, a classic Giant Man in the background here. These are just fun Silver Age classics and storyline. To the right is Hulk 250. Beautiful battle between Submariner, Silver Surfer, and the Hulk. Great story. I would say, I forgot to look, $20 to $30 for a book like that, and maybe a little bit more for higher grade. Totally worth it. A wonderful story, underappreciated book. I think that book will continue to move up like all the other classics.
Great fix.
Is that all of them? No. There's more here. I'm sorry.
A lot.
I forgot how many I sent.
Yeah.
This is another one. If you can, these are really. It's not as expensive as a Fantastic Four 12, but FF25. I have a couple of these. Actually, I have 3 of them. Classic Jack Kirby Stan Lee story. And look, what strikes me is look how small Ben Grimm is compared to the Hulk in this particular one.
Yeah.
Versus the previous ones we've seen, where Thing's always a little bit smaller than the Hulk is, but the proportions are way different here. Excuse me, on this classic book. And also, if you get this, it's kind of mandatory that you get Fantastic Four 26, not as expensive as 25, but the stories overlap each other, so you can't have one without the other. And we're going to talk about him in a minute, and that is John Romita Sr., who wrote Defenders 10, the cover right here.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the Hulk and his series, the Defenders. This is Steve Englehart's run, first 11 issues of the Defenders, which concluded in the Avengers Defenders War. That's a dynamite book. You could still get these for a stunningly reasonable price, but at some point those are going to have to move, and you can find them in high grades if you look hard enough. And to the right is a book I'm after right now. In fact, I'm bidding for one right now. I probably should have said it because now people are going to outbid me. Hulk number 340. That was when I had seen that, I instantly fell in love with that cover. That's why am I drawing a blank on him?
McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane art. I mean, Todd McFarlane. Come on, what? Another one of our just gems that we have in the comic community. I bought a whole bunch of those at the time at my comic store back in Berkeley. They were all stolen. I've had some tragedy in my life, but now I'm having to spend quite a bit of money just to get that one comic book back. But I think that should be required if you have any. To bring up the caliber of your collection, you should have that in your collection. Even if that's the centerpiece of your collection, what a great centerpiece. Hulk 340. And I also recommend getting the raw copy. Why? Great story. Really great story. I mean, you learn a lot about Logan and the Gray Hulk, which is what he is here in this particular issue here. And they actually, in the end, I guess I'll spoil one part of it, they kind of gain some mutual respect for each other. They're very much alike, as the cover kind of suggests. But the way Todd McFarlane did that, I think was brilliant. I really do. I strongly recommend that everyone have this. And they're not hard to find. They're not hard to find. Even if you have a low grade, just for the story value, I'd put it in your collection.
I have another quick question for Nando. I keep on going back to your sales. Has anybody come up to you yet, like, hey, telling you, hey, I have a collection, are you interested in it?
Yeah. That's kind of how I picked up my last one. Somebody reached out to me and said they had a 23 long box collection of silver, bronze, and modern. And, was I interested? And I went to go look at it one day, and, because I'm not in the haggle game. I'm not in the, you give me a price, I'm going to lowball you so we can get somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm going to tell you flat out, like, this is what I can give you. Like, this is legitimately what I can give you. If I can give you some more, I'll give you some more. If I can't, I can't. If it doesn't make sense for me, then it doesn't make sense for me. But that's how I approach it. But I get that every so often. But I'm always on the look for collections. But I think I'm actually in a position right now where I'm looking at collections that have to be a certain value amount. Because then if not, then I'm just bringing books in to bring books in versus actually bringing in value of books, because you want certain books for your readers and for your buyers, so you have to make sure you're bringing the right stuff in.
Okay, I originally, I was going to talk about this, or I was going to bring it up in the slides, but Dan did also, and we have to talk about this. Unfortunately, the loss of John Romita Sr. Take it away, Dan.
Well, this leads into very sad and tragic news of John Romita.
Yes.
We lost him last week, and for we senior collectors, this is a hard time for us because the people that we grew up with literally and gave us so much love and joy and appreciation for, especially their artwork, they're getting up there in age, and then no one lasts forever. And the latest is John Romita Sr. Before computers and cell phones and whatever else we had, there was a combination of brilliant storyline, but also imagery. And when John Romita took over, for example, the Spider-Man run after Steve Ditko, he brought a whole different dynamic and flair and energy that wasn't there. I mean, everyone loved Ditko's art, but I hate to say it wasn't anywhere near as good as John Romita Sr. And there are several people of that era. I'd say Sal and John Buscema. Of course, Jack Kirby had his own certain flair. And we also had George Perez and someone else we lost last year. I'm drawing a blank on him as well. See, this is what happens when you get older. You forget all these people.
Neil Adams.
Neil Adams was just brilliant. The covers and the artwork that he did. This is what guided us through. This is why comics became so popular, because of the dynamite storyline and the illustration. Now, comics, why the Silver and Bronze Age became so popular was because they didn't rely upon just one or the other. Like Hollywood is suffering from relying simply on special effects. That's a horrible mistake. You have to have depth, and they did it with great storyline. And people like John Romita helped guide us through, what we were reading, and gave this great imagery. And he gave us decades. Let me look at that Spider-Man at the bottom there. I believe that's one of the first times he did Spider-Man when he took over the run here. That's a far different approach than Steve Ditko. So he's going to be missed. And what we can do, all we can do is just appreciate him, not forget him, and just enjoy what he gave us for the many decades.
Yeah, he seemed to really just enjoy doing his work too. So yeah, he will be missed. With all these artists like you mentioned, George Perez, Neil Adams have died within the last few years. But it's just life. But his artwork and all of their artwork will live on forever, though.
I think that's also like part of like my job is for being able to promote that and share that history and share that love and passion that they created and developed for it to be shared with so many people. I think that's part of my responsibility, is to pass that on as much as we can too. And that's a big deal for it, I think.
So Nando, let me ask you something, because you're a lot younger than Efren and I. What is your take on, and again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's all personal preference. If a comic brings you, even if it's a 50-cent book you find in the bin, and it brings you a lot of joy, that's great. That you'll get my support any day of the week. What's your personal favorite regarding era, and what do you think of the golden, silver, bronze, and modern age comics? You only have 10 seconds to answer that question, by the way.
I think my phone is going to die, so it's hard for me to really give a real answer on that.
Can you give me a thumbnail?
For me personally, my very first comic book that I ever remember as a kid buying was Batman Underworld. So it was one of the storylines that had Mr. Freeze by Kelly Jones. And I actually that's 90s, right? That's early 90s. I had Kelly Jones actually sign the book, because I actually had found the original book that I had bought as a kid, and he signed it, and he then wrote my name on it, personalized it, and did all that for me. And I'll never let that go ever. But comics really started for me, which was seeing pictures of what my dad read. My dad read all the Golden Age stuff, right? So from Action and Gold and Superman. And my dad, quick backstory, my dad worked for Mattel for decades and was on, and worked with when Hot Wheels were invented and created. So cars were huge in our family. So anytime the Batmobile had something coming around, it was always, my dad was always like, hey, look at a new Batmobile. Hey, look at another Batmobile. So for me, I think the golden age has a special place. But for me, I think that 90s Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee era for me is very special. But when I got back into reading in 2011, 2013, that 2012 era, around that, Snyder and Capullo for me is what got me back in with Court of Owls for Batman.
Nice. All right, let's see what we have next. Okay, but wait, there's more. So we're still going to be talking about comic books. And these are just topics and news that I found on Newsarama comic book group. I just scour the internet to see if interesting topics, come up. And first one looks like they may be returning the Phoenix Force to Jean Grey. I'm not sure I like this. I thought she was done with it. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Do you think Jean Grey should become the Phoenix again, or just let it, die and just have somebody else?
Nando, it's you. I'm not gonna. This is, I'm old school. They should have left it alone. But
I agree. I mean, I think sometimes you need something to show up again, because just like in style and music and things like that, it recycles itself. I think it's important that we get a little bit of that, but I think as long as it's done well and it stays true to the the form of what it needs to be. If you start going off, the Phoenix form, the Phoenix is, let's start saying, it's an innate power that you earn, or you've born with. I think if you start doing some random things like that, you're going to really shoot yourself in the foot. So I think as long as they stay true to the core of the story and the character, then I think it's worth a shot. Because I mean, let's put it this way: a lot of the stories that we get out there, it's the spaghetti noodles that get thrown to the wall to see what sticks.
Yes.
So I think if you put something out there that's going to draw some attention, that's what they're doing with Phoenix. I think it's worth at least trying to see what happens with it.
Next up, looks like the Transformers and G.I. Joe, they're going to launch a new shared comic book universe. I went, wow, I'm curious to see how these storylines are going to go. It says it was announced that two of the world's most popular franchises, Transformers and G.I. Joe, have a new book home as part of the historic partnership between toy and game company Hasbro and Skybound, effective immediately. They're really going to push this. G.I. Joe and the Transformers. It almost seems like a match made in heaven. So we'll see. Hopefully, it's a good story. Or storylines.
Well, if anyone saw Beast Wars, the end credit scene leads to this.
Oh, okay.
So spoiler, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think it was coming. I think it was bound to happen regardless of whatever it was. But I think, how do you relate and make G.I. Joe popular today versus when it was in the 70s and 80s? I think that's going to be the draw and the challenge to, make that fit within the Transformers world now.
Now, if you buy this book, Nando, do you buy it to read, or would you buy more than one, and possibly, if it's a hot book, sell them?
So when it comes to new books and new releases and stuff like that, I haven't really tipped my toes in that water. It's more older books for me that I have. Sure. If I get new books in the collection and modern books in the collection, that's different. But I think for me, you want to have at least a couple on hand if you were going to do that. Just like anything, you want to buy one. You got to read it too, because Dan made a comment earlier about being passionate about reading and then knowing the stories. Fans, you learn more from fans than you learn from anything else, because they're more knowledgeable than you'll ever be about it. And understanding that first is important. But I think you got to read the story to know what you're talking about when you're trying to sell something. Because if not, people are going to see right through your BS and they're going to call you out on it. Right.
The only thing that I see is that they are running a bit of a risk, because I've listened to a lot of G.I. Joe comic fans, and there's a solid niche group. And when you have a niche group like that really loves a certain storyline, and then they bring another franchise into it, it could work, but also it could backfire in a spectacular way. Just I don't know. So I'm not wishing them ill will. I'm just saying they got to approach with caution.
I agree with Dr. Van Hoot, though, that getting DWJ, it was a big deal for this book. So I think that's a big deal that they got Daniel Warren Johnson on this one.
Yeah. All right. Let's got my next slide here. I love zombies. I won't lie to you. Anytime there's a zombie, either on DC, they did Deceased. I love that series. And this one, it looks like Marvel Zombies is coming back. Garth Ennis returns to Marvel for Marvel Zombies, Black, White, and Red. I think it's a cool looking cover of Wolverine, but Wolverine is a zombie, but he has healing powers. And would he become human again? Or, I just thought about that when I seen this picture. I went, I wonder, if he's going to stay a zombie. But I just love this cover. It's in black and white. It looks pretty cool.
See, Efren, you just shot the book down now. Now nobody wants to buy
that. You're welcome.
I don't know. The zombie thing for me is kind of overdone, and I don't know. It doesn't do much for me. I mean, how far are you going to? It's sort of like Night of the Living. The what was it called? The
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
was very popular for a couple of years, but it's the same storyline, and before you know it, it starts to go downhill, and you really, unless you want to jump the shark to try and revive it, and yes, that's an old reference that Nando, you probably don't get. I don't know how far can you keep going with these zombie storylines? Are they? I mean, are they popular? Or are these big sellers?
So, at least in the horror books that I've been seeing move a little bit, it's definitely more like Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night and Man Wolf, things like that, and some of the Chamber of Chills. Like obviously, I see that more moving than I did Marvel Zombies. I actually had it's Swaggle House. What's up, Mickey?
Look at this guy.
I had a Tales of Suspense on my wall, and that got a lot of attention recently. So I'm actually seeing more of a trend of horror going to traditional horror, not fabricated horror of here. Let's just throw Wolverine or Iron Man into being a zombie.
I like the phrase fabricated horror. Fabricated. I can speak English sometimes, but not right now. Fabricated horror is a great way to describe these. And therein lies the problem with it, because how much fabrication, how much artificial, element can you put into these kind of things? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I mean, have you read these, Nando? And what's your take on if you have?
I read Marvel Zombies, the original run. There was a second run that I didn't read, and this obviously is a new one that's coming up that I haven't read yet. So I haven't read this one specifically.
I just showed Swaggle House. He's one of the people that's going to be joining me when we do our Comic-Con panel, so he's one of the persons that's going to be on stage with me, which is our second year of doing it, and
you got to tell me what day. So
it's going to be on a Friday at 4 p.m. I'll shoot you all the information.
Okay, I'll be there.
Now Ephraim, you've gone big time. If you got Swaggle House on your panel, you've gone big time, man. What do you have me on the show for? Jeez.
I'm gonna get my autograph. Dan, I'll get you an autograph book, and I'll get them all to sign it, and I'll send you a page.
I'm a groupie. Yeah.
I met Swag at Nearman Sundays. We were both going through some comic books, and I just looked over my shoulder, and I knew it was him. So I just stared at him for a couple of seconds before I introduced myself.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
And let's get to the next slide. I think everybody has seen the recent Spider-Verse movie. There's a short film that sees Miles Morales do horror. So Sony Pictures Animation and Sony Pictures Imageworks will release a brand new original short film titled The Spider Within, set in the world of the upcoming release Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The animated short will debut exclusively at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival this June. In short, Miles Morales struggles to balance his responsibility as a teenager, friend, and student while acting as Brooklyn's friendly neighborhood superhero. After a particularly challenging day living with the pressures, Miles experiences a panic attack that forces him to confront the manifestations of his anxiety and learn that reaching out for help can be just as brave as an act as protecting his city from evil. I looked around to find this video. I haven't found it yet. So this has been released, but I just haven't seen it yet. I'm still trying to see if I can find it. And hopefully it looks good. I mean, I love the movie. I think it's one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. I've just seen it.
Well, as we were talking backstage, that DC has been really living on, and Nando, you said it for the last 20 years, Batman, and I would think from what I've heard, and again, I stopped collecting back in the mid to late 90s. Marvel's lived on Spider-Man, and now they're expanding with all these spider characters, and so it seems to be working. People seem to be buying, I guess, but at some point there's going to be oversaturation. So,
Comics and Tortilla, I 100% agree with you. DC versus Vampires was way better than
Marvel Zombies. I did read that one. That was good. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. Swaggle House. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. So you're talking about our panel. So, yep. Let me see what else here. Dr. Von Hood is still awake.
Amazing.
Yeah. And next slide topic is we talked about this briefly, and you had a comment about this too, Nando. Spider-Man #7 scores third printing, gets new Spider-Boy Luciano Vecchio cover. You mentioned this previously, Nando. What were you saying about this cover?
I didn't have one request for it this weekend.
Wow.
At this last show. And granted, the show probably the demographic probably was a little different. It was a little older of a crew. So they weren't specking on this book as much as most people are. But, you know, when people look at a book and whether it's going to be the whole the testament of time, you know, you're seeing something that's going to last 5-10 years down the line. Is it? We don't know. It may or may not. But I'm going to be the person that's going to stamp my foot in the flag and say the first appearance of Spider-Boy was actually Amalgam in '96. But, you know, I'm the first one that'll say that. So whatever.
Yeah, people have been mentioning that also. Now, we brought this up. I talked about this to Nando recently too. All the new Batman comics, graphic novels, and collections from DC in 2023. I just stopped at July 18th. This list was till the end of the year. If it wasn't for Batman, I think DC Comics would be in a lot of trouble. You know, he's just everywhere in all the books. You know, if it wasn't for him, I don't think DC would exist as we know it now. I mean, there's Superman, you know, he's obviously popular too, and Wonder Woman, but Batman is he's everywhere. You know, without him, DC, they just wouldn't be what they are now.
Yeah. I think there needs to be. Okay, so as a fan, right, you're excited when you get to see your favorite media on like the silver screen or the big screen. You know, like I went to go see Flash this weekend, and you know I can't say that I wasn't excited to watch the movie to see the different Batman on the film, right? Like on screen again. That was great. Like I had a great time with that. But you know, I think there was a lack of storytelling and a lack of depth. Although I did think this Flash movie was better than I was expecting it to be. Yeah. I definitely think Keaton stole the show for me. But I think that, you know, I'm really excited to see what Gunn is going to do going forward, because I think the tipping point for DC is going to be, can we get Superman back into the main public light? Can he be the hero that people get behind instead of, oh, it's Superman, and it just kind of brushes to the side? Right. So I think, you know, Wonder Woman, you know, with the films, I think there was a good resurgence for Wonder Woman, and that grew. Batman is always there, but I think we need Superman to have the positive, you know, background that we have with him. And, you know, I remember, Dan, you were mentioning before with Henry Cavill, and, you know, we lose him, but what do we do going forward? Right. We can't fix the past now. So you have to go forward and change and do the best you can going forward. And I hope with Gunn at the helm, I hope we have the right trajectory and the right direction, what they want to do with them.
It's going to be difficult for sure. I mean,
I haven't been shy about my opinions about Gunn and Zaslav and all that. And again, as I mentioned in my own segment, with the quality of the story, you look at any movie that is successful, it's a combination of, well, you have to have a good story first, no matter what. If you don't have a good script, it's not going to work. I don't give a damn how great the special effects or anything else is. If you don't have a storyline that grabs you, affects you, or you can relate to, it doesn't bring interest to you. And that, coupled with gorgeous artwork, again, that attracted millions of kids around the world in Marvel, and even DC. DC wasn't that great. There's a long story as to why back in the Silver and Bronze Age, but Marvel captured the audience and captured the attention of everyone. But Stan Lee at the time did this on a very shoestring budget. But with the quality that he had, it captivated everyone. The same thing could be said of Gene Roddenberry back in the same era. He had a very little show, shoestring budget, but absolute quality that it can completely change the science fiction world. Gunn and Zaslav are doing this on a budget. They're huge. They're hemorrhaging money. It's a difficult place to start from, you know, from your knees, and you don't have a lot going for you right now. But if they focused in on the quality of their storyline, then it might be successful. But also keep in mind the track record. The Superman character is an extremely difficult character to fill on the big screen, and they've tried, and I say failed in virtually every attempt, even back with the Christopher Reeve. Yeah. I remember when he was chosen, he wasn't a great Superman. He was too milquetoast for me. Just that it's not the strong, you know, individual that I grew up with, that your dad would remember as Superman. And so from what I've seen from this Flash movie, they've changed the ending radically. They finally had the actors with Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot, who was gorgeous, and we accepted her as Wonder Woman. We accepted Cavill as Superman, and now they're going to start over again. I hate to say it, the odds are very much stacked against them.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I hope James Gunn does a good job.
If there's one thing I'll add to that,
okay,
is all of us who like sports, we all love a good underdog story. So.
That's true. Marvel is launching a new Ultimate Universe with a whole new line of Ultimate Comics. Ultimate Comics, I believe, came out in about the early 2000s. The one main character that crossed over that everybody loves now is Miles Morales. So this Jonathan Hickman and Brian Hitch's Ultimate Invasion limited series is much more than a return to the Ultimate Universe as previously advertised. It's actually the birth of an entirely new incarnation of the Ultimate Universe, designed by Hitch and Hickman themselves, as just revealed by Marvel Comics. I'm curious to see if there will be one character that really sticks out and crosses over, so to speak, like Miles did. I don't think so. I mean, Miles was just, to me, Miles is just the best now. It's everybody's younger generation Spider-Man. And next up, I picked this one. I was thinking of you, Nando. I think this is a great storyline. Bruce Wayne is dead. Long live the Batman, and new DC Black Label series Gargoyle of Gotham. It's a 4-issue miniseries. Launches on Batman Day. That's Saturday, September 16th, in case you're wondering, and will be published bi-monthly. According to DC, the new book focuses on a version of Batman who willingly lets go of his life as Bruce Wayne in favor of a full-time crime fighting. This comes at a terrifying cost, however, that we imagine has something to do with that old quote about gazing into the abyss. I think this is a great storyline. I'm really curious. I really want to read this book, but it's coming out later on this fall.
Yeah, I think it's Raphael Grandpa is supposed to be working on the art.
Yeah, I'm curious. How is he going to react if he gives up being, Bruce Wayne? Dang. He's just going to be the Dark Knight. How
so
dark
he gives up the mask. He gives up the real mask.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Very true. Yeah. So I can't wait to read this one. This is what I like, when they take heroes out of their comfort zone, so to speak, and they do a 180 on them. I don't think this topic has ever been brought to the forefront of Bruce Wayne, being gone, and there's only Batman. How is he going to react to, the Bat family? What are they going to think of it if they're in this book? Curious to see. And next up, Night Terrors is a Nightmare on Elm Street in the DC universe. I love these books. They just go 180, and this is going to be, looks like it's going to be a mind game. Somebody's going to be playing mind games on these DC heroes. And you see, I believe this character on the right-hand side underneath Batman is Deadman, if I'm correct, Nando, the guy in red, right next to Harley Quinn.
Yeah, Deadman. I see Deadman, Zatanna. I can't see past Zatanna though. So
yeah. So it says Night Terror spans DC titles in July and August with the 4-issue horror series bookended by July's First Blood and August Night Terrors Night's End #1. So the DC is shifting gears to surreal horror this summer with this latest crossover event. It looks like it's just going to be a 4-issue series, but if it's a crossover event, it may be on some other books, little side reads. But this looks like an interesting topic.
So I can tell you that Dustin Nguyen is doing variant covers for every title.
Okay.
And boy, howdy, those covers alone are worth picking up just for the artwork.
Yeah. It looks like an interesting storyline. So I still read comic books. I've been reading comic books since I was 10 years old. And sometimes it's difficult to read some storylines because it's hard to come up with new ideas. And I was like, oh my God, this is kind of repetitive. So, but this one I find interesting. Hopefully it'll be a good read.
I'm assuming this character is similar to Nightmare from Marvel. Is that, I'm not up on this character from DC.
You talking about Deadman?
Oh, for Deadman?
No, the villain in the background.
Oh, the background.
Is that his name, Night Terror?
No, so it's the story. It's Night Terrors. The storyline is going to be called Night Terrors because it looks like that's Joker actually in the background.
Oh, you're right. Huh. Never thought about that. Those eyes, kind of gives away.
I never would have got that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I picked this one because we were talking earlier, obviously, the death of I'm trying to blank on his name. I apologize, but this is Marvel pays tribute to George Perez with new variant covers. This first started a couple of months ago, but this one is you can order it right now. Is Captain Marvel, and the other variants will be Fantastic Four, number 8, Avengers number 2, Scarlet Witch, and the Incredible Hulk number 1. And to be announced, number 1 variant covers by George Perez. This is ongoing. It started last month, and this is just an example of one of the covers that was drawn by George Perez, in honor of him. And I like this cover because the bottom of her legs is almost like you can see outer space. It's like a mix. When they do that, I forgot what it's called when they do this, but I think it's a cool looking cover. So that's why
it is cool. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And what else? Now showing. Now this is the segment where we talk about movies and TV shows. And first up, I picked this up, as I said, Paul McCartney says final Beatles song coming thanks to artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Yeah, when we came to make what will be the last Beatle record, it was a demo that John had that we worked on, and we just finished it up. It will be released this year, and we were able to take John's voice and get it pure through this AI. I went, dang, that's
All
crazy.
right. I may, for the first time ever, if I can talk her into it, bring my wife onto the show. And the reason why is she is literally the biggest Beatles fan that I've ever known. And she knows the band inside and out, every song, every lyric. I don't know. She's probably aware of it. She's sharp regarding news thing. I'm going to get her opinion on this. And if it's a strong enough opinion, with your permission, Efren, I'll bring her on here and give her. I don't want to speak for her, but we can bring an expert on the show, and I bet you. I'm going to take a guess. She's going to vote it down. She's going to vote it down. Yeah. Probably a purist like myself. That's why. Probably why I married her.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the AI gig stuff.
No.
Like, I don't know. Like, I went to school for music, and I'm very much about the tangible concept and the realism of what it is. And while it can create, it doesn't bring life. And that's what a musician does with his instrument, his or her instrument, whether it's a voice or an actual tangible playable instrument. Like, it's they bring something to life, not just they don't just create something. So it's really hard for me to sit well with that.
That's a great statement. I wonder, obviously Paul McCartney doesn't feel that way. He just wants to do it, so,
sometimes dollars speak more than feelings sometimes.
Yeah.
Dollars, and maybe, at the end of his career, he has nothing better to do.
Yes. Terminator star Linda Hamilton joins the cast of Stranger Things for the final season. I was wondering what kind of character. The minute I think of Linda Hamilton, I think of Terminator. She's going to be hopefully she's a kick-ass character, and it's the final season of Stranger Things, which I think is a great series. If you haven't watched Stranger Things, I highly recommend watching this series. I don't think there's been a bad season of Stranger Things. To me, they're all really, really good. I really enjoyed this series. And Michael Keaton says he and director Tim Burton are doing Beetlejuice 2, exactly like we did the first movie. Beetlejuice, it's been over 30 years, I believe, with Beetlejuice now. These 30 years, man. Like, dang.
I had loved that movie. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And why there wasn't a follow-up, right away, why are they taking so damn long to do this? They could pull it off, but there should have been a couple of those Beetlejuice movies, because again, Michael Keaton was brilliant in that.
Yeah. And next slide. Jurassic Park still has bite at 30 years old, and here's why. This article just saying how this movie has stood up, the test of time. It's been 30 years since the movie came out. When this movie first came out, I was like, oh my God, I was so enthralled by it. I got to the point where I was like, wow. And there was articles about this in the news, that bringing back dinosaurs is a possibility. I was all caught up in all that. So I think this is a great movie, and it's been 30 years. I can't believe it's been 30 years since this movie came out. So great movie. And next slide. Carrie Fisher is a good witch in the trailer for her final film, Wonderwell. And I have a video of this trailer, so hopefully it will work. So hang on, guys. Okay. There we go, guys. So yeah, I just wanted to show this quick little trailer video. You know, Carrie Fisher to me was just, you know, when she passed away, you know, been 4 or 5 years now, was just so, it really bothered me for some reason. Then, you know, with her mom, Debbie Reynolds passing away like a day afterwards too. I'm like, dang, man, such tragedy. But I just wanted to show this quick little trailer of her. And
No, I'm just looking up here. She died in 2016. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
did they finish this movie with art of AI? You know, did she actually complete this before she died? This is all news to me. This is a little bit late. I mean, it only takes a couple of years to produce a movie.
Yes. Yep.
So there was some AI with this.
I have no idea. Maybe it's been a while, so I'm not sure why they're showing this trailer now. So obviously they waited a long time. You know, it's been over 5 years. So I think this movie's coming pretty soon. So I'm not sure what the holdup was, but I found it interesting. You know, and Carrie Fisher's last film. You know, so let's go forward. This one I want to talk. I just found this so funny. Al Pacino is a new dad again at 83. Oops, we lost Nando.
Yeah,
come back. 83 years old. I'm like, damn, man. I go 83 years old. Who has the energy to take care of a newborn at 83 years old? And we were talking, Robert De Niro also has become a new dad recently too, and he's in his 70s, I believe. This is crazy. You know, I thought it was humorous. I'm sure they're happy that they brought a child into life. You know, that they have a new kid. But 83 years old, it's just like, wow.
I'm going to be blunt, and you're a dad. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
Being a father is a serious endeavor, and one of the problems with society is there are not enough good fathers.
Yeah.
And this is these two, Pacino and De Niro, is it that has children at you know pushing 90? They're having children because they have money to do it. You can't raise a child just with money, and so he'll be. I mean, I hope he lives to be 150. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's not going to see his kids go to school or college or anything else, or see them get married, and without the actual father there, it's a horrible mistake. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stand behind this. I don't give a damn about how Hollywood likes to sort of gloss things over. Hollywood is a fantasy world, but there's no reality here. Look, if they want to have their own sex thing, that's not my business. But to celebrate it as these are wonderful dads, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, you know, I wish them good luck. So, Nando, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, cool. Let me see here. This is Marvel Phase 5 new releases, dates, news, and more. Basically, what's coming up. Secret Invasion just came out today, and I watched it. It was good, you know, but if you took away the Marvel name, it had nothing to do with Marvel, so to speak, except for the scroll, and it could be any kind of espionage show. That's my opinion. Loki Season 2 is coming out in October. Then we have the Marvels, Echo, Ironheart, Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Deadpool 3 is coming out on May 3rd, 2024. Captain America, Thunderbolts, and the last show or movie for Phase 5 is Blade. And I believe Phase 6 is when the Fantastic Four is going to come on board. So, you know, see how some of these shows do. You know?
Of all those, the Loki Season 2 is going to be, I'm just waiting for that. That was, the first season was dynamite.
Oh, we got a comment here by Dr. Von who says Wonderwell was delayed due to a ballooning visual effects budget. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's taken 7 years. One show that they don't have on here that I hopefully they'll bring back is the What If series that Disney Plus premiered a couple of years ago. I really enjoyed that, you know. And we'll see what's coming up next. Okay, and this is top box office. This is from June 16th through 18th to 2023. Just showing a quick snapshot of which movies, you know, were. The Flash was number one, but I know 55 million is not a little bit of money, but it should, you know, this movie to be successful, it should have made a lot more, in my opinion. And then we have Elemental at 29.6. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is still, you know, has a good following, is at 27 million. Then we have Transformers, Little Mermaid, The Blackening. Guardians of the Galaxy is still doing it, 5.3 million. The Boogeyman, Fast X, and the last one is Asteroid City. Can't read how much they made there, but that movie starring Scarlett Johansson and I believe Tom Hanks. And next up, these are the most watched and the most streamed TV shows and movies this week. This is basically from Apple TV, Disney Plus, Max, Hulu, and other streaming networks. Number 5 is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Any of you guys see this movie? I have.
No, I didn't see
Not
it.
yet.
So this fourth movie here, this is from MGM. When I looked at it, I'm going, what's the name of this title? It says it's from MGM. I go, but what's the name of the title? The name of the title is From. It took me a second or two to figure that out.
I never would have figured that one out. I'm like, what?
I thought this, I watched the trailer of this and I was like, oh my God, this looks like a scary series. This is season 2. It's already been on. I've never seen it before. It says this horror show is entering its 2nd season. The premise is that there's a small town in middle America that people can enter. They just can't leave. You know, I've seen the trailer and I was like, oh my God, this looks like a scary series. So it's got me hooked. I haven't even seen it yet. So, you know, I kind of recommend this, you know. So I'm not a fan of scary movies or TV shows, but I think I'm going to check this one out. And number 3, I think it just came out recently too on Disney Plus. It's Avatar: The Way of Water. I haven't seen it yet. It's 3+ for long. I did this, so I probably will watch it at home when I take breaks. You know, you guys
well, as I always say, I don't need to watch horror. I watch the news every day. I see horror for real every night.
Yeah. And the next one is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is the original movie, the animated one from a couple of years back. And number 1, Dan, is the same one from last time. And I still haven't seen this series, but it's on Apple TV. Oops. It's called Silo. Yeah, I haven't seen this, but I remember this was number 1 last month also. In the dystopian universe of Silo, based on the book Wolf, humanity lives underground, and you guessed it, a silo. But everyone has been there for so many generations, they have no idea why or how they got there. So this looks like, obviously it's a good story. It's number 1. Like I said, I recall it was number 1 last time.
Nando, have you seen this?
Not yet. No.
Okay. I haven't seen it. Oh, I think we lost Ephraim.
No, I'm still here.
Okay. Thought you're getting voice was a little choppy for a while.
Yeah. And let me see. So Hollywood Actors Guild votes to authorize joining writer strike. I don't know when this is going to end. It's going to be affecting it already has movies and TV shows, and the WAG is already on strike, and now the union SAG is going to be joining them. You know, don't meet their demands for new contract by the 30th. So I think we're going to be long summer and the fall of reruns for a while before this strike gets settled, which is unfortunate.
Good. Go read a comic book.
From Nando. So, and this is just my pick. I've been watching this series Manifest. It first started on NBC on September 24th, 2018. It says it centers on the passenger and the crew of a commercial airliner who suddenly reappear after being presumed dead for 5.5 years. It switched over to Netflix to finish the series, and the last 10 episodes just came out. I really enjoyed this series. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Lost. You know, it's shaping up to be good versus evil. You know, like these people they thought the plane was lost. You know, they didn't find it. You know, it just disappeared. And 5.5 years later, it lands, and to the people on the plane, nothing happened to them. They just thought the flight had finished, and it goes from there. It has backflashes of what happened to these people. And it's been a very entertaining series, which I like, you know, and it's, like I said, it's continuing right now on Netflix. So I highly recommend it. And, okay, let's talk sports. So this is a segment where Dan and we were just talking behind the scenes, and we're both big baseball fans. And I said, you know, why don't we do a segment about sports, you know, at the end? And he said, yeah, let's do that. So the first slide is last week or a couple of weeks ago, we have 2 new champions of 2023 for the NBA is the Denver Nuggets, and the Stanley Cup champions is the Las Vegas Knights, I believe. Las Vegas has only been in existence as a professional team for 6 years. The first year that they were in existence, they made it to the Stanley Cup, and they lost it. And now this is their 6th year, and you know they went back and they won it this year. I think it's amazing that any professional team that's only been around for 6 years is already a champion. You know, and Denver has been around for over 40, 50 years, and this is their first championship. So
let's start with Nando here. He's younger and far in better shape than both of us. So Nando, what sports do you follow? What sports do you play?
So I was a basketball kid my whole life. I'm being in Southern California. I was spoiled. I grew up with the Lakers, so obviously I got everything I ever wanted as a basketball fan. In college, I got to play in the Laker band while I was in college, so I got to be a part of the Laker organization for a little while. So to see Denver get a title, I mean, they beat the Lakers to get there, whatever, that's fine. But to see Denver get a championship for the first time, that's you can only imagine how the fans felt. I mean, there's been fans that have followed them their entire lifetime and have never seen it. And I mean, they've had amazing players in that city over the decades, and it's really good for the city to finally get the title. I think out of all of this, though, I think the one thing that we have to kind of recognize and kind of look at a little bit is Dan Kroenke. Dan Kroenke has 4 major league teams that have won a championship in the past 5 years. I mean, he's got the Denver Nuggets, he had the Colorado Avalanche, he had the minor league or the major league lacrosse team, and then the Rams. Like, he's got 4 championships in the major sports, and I think he owns Arsenal and UEFA. So I think he's got his hands in some championship building opportunities all over the place. So, congrats to the Golden Knights in Vegas, and congratulations to the Nuggets. Even though they beat the Lakers, it's fine. It's all good.
Go Warriors.
I had a buddy of mine. There's an artist, a really good artist out there. His name's Manuel Martinez. If you don't follow him, follow him. He's an amazing artist because he's even better because of it. He's a better human being, and he's a diehard Dubs fan. And so during the series, him and I were going back and forth, and it was fun. And he said, so there was a bet going on where I was going to be able to do something with them at Comic-Con, but I had to renounce my Laker fanhood. And after the series, I said, so I have a Laker hoodie for you. And he was like, don't talk to me anymore.
I heard that the Stanley Cup, Las Vegas, they're they have a celebration. They had it at night on the Strip.
Yeah,
that must have been awesome.
That's very Vegas.
Yeah, very Vegas.
Well, Oakland's my hometown, and with the Warriors winning, having that dynasty, that was really fun for me to see. Yeah. And but what bothered me, they moved out of Oakland and went to San Francisco. So now the Chase Center. So it's not the Oakland. They never were called the Oakland Warriors, but it was always in Oakland, California. Yeah. So it's just kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah. As a Laker fan, I've been trying to knock off going to as many stadiums on the road as possible. And the couple games that I attended at the Oracle always were loud. But when I was doing them, the Lakers were definitely more the favorite team always when I was going up to do these trips. There was a lot of Laker fans up there. A lot.
Nice. Yeah. This is just like I said, Dan and I are big time baseball fans, and these are just the most recent standings of today. First up is the National League. We see Atlanta, Arizona, and Cincinnati is in first place. I was like, wow, that took me by surprise. And my Giants have won 9 in a row as of tonight. I'm not sure how they're doing right now, but they creeped up to second place. And in the American League, we have Tampa Bay, who started out hot this year. They had won like the first, I think, about 15 games in a row to start off the season. And Baltimore is second, which is a surprise. And then we have Minnesota in the Central, and Texas, Bruce Bochy, he's the manager now. They're in first place. And we're going to be talking about the A's in a second, but they're in last place, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, the Reds are a surprise, although they're only a couple games above 500, but they've been trying to rebuild. They're like the Padres. They can't get their act together. I don't know why. Yeah. And, Padres have been they keep putting pieces together. You think they've got a good team on paper, and all of a sudden you see them on the field, and there they are, a couple of games under 500. Texas is a surprise, but the huge surprise is the beast of Tampa Bay. Those guys are for real. Yeah. And I think it looks like, at least I know it's not quite the halfway point, but I think the Rays are probably it. It's sort of theirs to lose at this point.
Yeah. Are you into baseball at all, Nando?
I grew up with baseball with my dad. My dad actually was a huge A's fan growing up.
Oh, nice.
So my dad, when he migrated from Brazil, he picked all the teams that were green and yellow when he came to the States. And then he was like, I don't want to be a Packer fan, so he became a Raider fan. So I was like, maybe
it's a great story.
I was like, maybe he should have stayed a Packer fan, but it's sad to see. I mean, when the Raiders left, and they've always come back and forth. They're like a bad girlfriend. They come back and forth. But I think them going to Vegas, I think it was only fitting that you were going to see the A's follow suit and kind of go to Vegas with them. I will tell you one thing: Vegas will support them. They'll get. I mean, Vegas, the Raiders are always a packed stadium, and it's not cheap to pack out the Allegiant Stadium out. And they're going to do the same thing. They're going to do something really good for baseball because Vegas wants the attention, and they're going to find ways to fill those seats. and they're going to hype them up and they're going to build them what they want. So, I mean, if the A's do well there, I'll be sad that they're not in Oakland anymore, but a part of me will still be a little happy to see the A's doing well.
Now, I listen to sports radio a lot, and Dave have been talking. A big topic has been the Oakland A's, and they're saying that that the new stadium may only fill like about 30 to 35,000 people, and it's going to be open roof. I go, you guys are crazy. I mean, in Vegas during the summer, talking about over 100 degrees, I'm going, it can't be an open roof, and it can't just hold between 30 and 35,000 people. And
but they do that in Texas, though. Texas is just as hot as hell and humid, and so why they have an open stadium there, I don't understand.
Crazy. And what I didn't want to bring this up, but it just makes me sad. Seeing the A's, it looks like the owner just has given up on the team. He's cut the payroll, and he wants out. He's not making enough money. But I just feel bad for Oakland. They lost the Raiders, they've lost the Warriors, and now it looks like they're going to be losing the Athletics. I think it's sad when a team transfers to another city. When the Chargers left San Diego, even though I'm a Niner fan, I go, it bugged me. I go, dang it, Chargers were in San Diego for 55 years. When they left, I'm like, that's not right. I feel bad for the fan base of Oakland. That's why I put this article.
Well, being born and raised in Oakland, I mean, I remember it was a great hometown to grow up in. It was a much smaller town. And I remember when the A's first won back in 1972, they had a streak of 72, 73, and 74.
Yeah.
That was Charlie Finley who owned the team. And they're all Hall of Famers. Raleigh Fingers, you had Catfish Hunter, you had a whole variety of just all-stars, and it's just a great team from a very small franchise. Oakland was a very small town, didn't have enough money, but they were able to put together a quality product. Same with the Raiders when they had John Madden and all those incredible people from the mid-'70s, and they won in 1976 or 77, I think it was. And then, of course, Al Davis didn't care about that. He cared about money. And so there was a fight between the Oakland City Council and the mayor. He wanted more stadium. They didn't have the money to do it. So Davis takes off to Los Angeles. And like as Mando said, the bad girl scenario, I'm like, I thought differently. I'm like, if you're gone, you're gone. You're never coming back. It's like, a girlfriend leaves on me, we're done. Thanks. It was a great time. And if she comes back and says, hey, remember the good times? Because Al Davis did that. He had a press conference saying, hey, you remember the good times with the Raiders? And I said, yeah, I also remember when he left. And I was the only one predicting that he would leave again, and he did. So now, but the A's, though, it's a totally different scenario because they have a deep, rich history of championship teams, great stars, even their announcers. Bill King, I don't know if you remember him from Bill King and Lon Simmons were A's announcers for the longest time. It was just a great franchise. But again, you had stupid people running the city. It's gone downhill. That has a huge part of why the A's aren't staying here. Why? Why would you stay in a city like Oakland that's not going anywhere? It's going downhill rather than uphill. I hate to say it, I can't blame them for going to a better venue. And Las Vegas is just, again, they're moving up and we're not. So
yeah, it's just a shame to me, that they're going to lose all their major league teams. So, but I think Bill King used to be the voice of the Niners too, if I recall.
No. Bill King, and this is another subject. We're talking about entertainment here. The sports broadcasters today are not that great. They're nowhere near what they used to be. We had great broadcasters in the Bay Area. You had Lon Simmons, the voice of the Giants, and also Hank Greenwald, my favorite announcer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Bill King did the A's, Raiders, and Warriors all at the same time. He was that good, that well loved. We lost him way too early. Yeah. But now since they're leaving, it's all almost done. But the shouting, it's not finalized yet. But all we're going to have is just memories.
Yeah, unfortunately. And okay, Dan. Dan posted this on Instagram today. And I said, Dan, can you talk about this? Because I was looking for this app, and hopefully you can give me the name of the app so I can download it. But this looks like fun. Go ahead.
Do either one of you play golf? Nando, do you play golf?
I've tried.
You've been accused of trying on. How about you, Ephraim?
I used to play golf all the time, but I stopped about 5 years ago. But I still.
What kind of handicap were you carrying?
I was so bad. I didn't even have a handicap. I never broke 100. Put it that way.
Okay, so you're like me. You're a hacker. I'm just a good hacker.
Yeah.
And I've had a struggle the last couple of days. I've had a birdie drought. I haven't had any birdie in 2 years. I finally broke that drought a couple months ago, and I got one here. The Golf Logics is the app, and this is so good. I'm actually going to pay. It's like $60 a year, and it gives you all the courses in the entire U.S. and all the details of where your setting is. It's on I'm using my iPhone. And Hidden Brook Golf Course is in Vallejo, California, which is in East Bay, a little bit north of Oakland, and that is a tough course. That's all hills. It's all in the Vallejo Hills. Anytime you have a golf course where you have hilly conditions, you have it's placement golf. That's extremely challenging, and for someone who's just a good hacker, 91 is a damn good score. And I had 2 eagle putts, which I don't remember ever having. And I did get a birdie out of one of them, and I screwed up the last one. I putted it 80 yards away. I putted it into the sand trap. I was having just a great day. I was laughing about it. Normally I'd be pissed off and throw my clubs out. But no, this is a great little venue just to get out for some exercise, fresh air. And if you ever come to the Bay Area, we have lots of great golf courses. That's one of them. But shout out to Golf Logics. Pretty good app. I'd recommend you getting it for free, or pay $60 a year for it.
There's a question from Comics Entertainment. You're from San Diego. Yes, I am. And yes, I've been to that store, Nuclear Comics. I believe they're downtown in the Gaslamp district. But yeah, I've been to that store.
I think Kenny has his second shop is North Park, so it's in North Park University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last segment is comic book market. We're just going to talk briefly about the market and see how it is. Nando, you may have an opinion of this since you're a vendor now. But first slide, and I got this from Cover Price. It says they use real sales data to identify the top comics each week. Number 1 was She-Hulk, and 7-day trend it was plus 281%. Top weekly sale was $135 of a graded book, and weekly units sold was 44. Number 2 is Coyotes. I've never heard of this book, but I heard they may make it into a movie or TV show. 7-day trend is plus 221%. Top weekly sale of a graded comic is $89, and Spider-Man 2099, which has been around forever. Top weekly sale was $210 of a graded comic. Next up, we have 4, 5, and 6. Spider-Man, the first print, Spider-Man number 7. A weekly sale of a graded comic book went for $150. I went, wow, that's pretty good. The book's only been out for a couple months. And Void Rivals, I believe this is the beginning of the Transformers G.I. Joe. And I could be wrong, but I think it's called Void Rivals. Wow, top weekly sale is $247. And The Sickness is a new book, number 1 by Uncivilized Comics. And the top weekly sale was $25 for a raw book.
Hey, Ephraim, let me stop you here. So, Nando, since you're in the business, do you see any comment on the fluidity of some of these books regarding buying and selling them?
So I mean, right now the 2099 was definitely a hit in the past weekend. I think I had about 4 or 5 of the copies on hand. 3 of them were newsstands, 2 of them, 2 newsstands, 3 direct. The newsstands were gone, and I think because of the film, I think that spec part of everything, people were trying to chase it down. But to be honest, a lot of the foil covers are just, they pop, right? So as long as they look good, people want them. But if you ask me, did the other 2099 books sell? No, but the main cover did.
What conditions were they in? I just got one from Journals Comics for about $20. Nice high mid-grade, 5 to 6. It's got some spine ticks on it. I don't care, but didn't pay that much for it. But so what kind of condition were you selling?
I mean, the price tag on all of them for mine were, I had $25 for the newsstands, $20 for the non-newsstands. And somebody bought it. I think I packaged all 5 of them were sold. But I think I packaged them with other people with other books. So I mean, some people probably got it for like maybe the newsstand for like $20, or maybe the non-newsstand, the direct copy for like $15. So I mean, I'm not gonna be afraid to do that for people, because I mean, if you're buying especially multiple books, like, go ahead and do it. But looking at the new Spider-Man number 7, that didn't get called for once at all during this weekend. So I mean, I didn't walk the booths very often. There's only 20 vendors at this show. But I didn't see very many other vendors like posting it on their wall or putting it as like a main attraction piece. And the one thing I look at, the inflation of the prices on CGC books, on graded books, the prices are higher for the books. So the price is going to go up a little bit more for the buy, obviously. But I don't know, like some of these, the ones I'm looking at right now that you've put up there, I'm like, okay, out of the 7 or 6 books that you put up so far, nobody asked for She-Hulk this week. Yeah. Spider-Man 2099, yes. Void Void Rivals No, The Sickness No. Those are more of the indie level books that I don't carry on hand because they're new books, so I don't have those right now.
Now, how often do you start looking for books now? Since you're a vendor, you have to keep your book. You have to keep on buying books to continue with your business. How often do you start looking for books, like on a regular basis now?
It's ABB, always be buying.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be willing that anything that can come my way directly, I have to look at and take it seriously. There's a gentleman who I'm talking to right now who's in Tucson, Arizona, who has almost a 30 long box collection that he wants to unload. One long box of slabs, and the rest of it is all bronze, silver, and modern. So it's like, if it's worth my time, he's going to email me over the Excel sheet, and if it's worth my time and effort, and the price is right, go on the road again. What's really funny is, like, some people message me and there's like, hey, I talked to so and so and they said you buy comic books. That's opened the door for people that have tried to sell me one short box of nothing to 30 long boxes of something. So it just depends. I mean, you see, there's stuff to get out. There's books out in the market, and there's books out in the wild, so that you can go get and hopefully get the right ones. You just got to work on it, and you got to go and look for something. And if they got it, great. If this is not what you need, my thing is, I can't just settle for whatever books people give me or bring me, because then I'm sitting on those books for what? I have to make sure that the books I get are going to be able to be sold and people want them. And my thing is, my job isn't to hold books. My job is to sell the books.
So we'll say if you bought a recent collection, would you put them all for sale, or would you say, you know what, I want this book for me for my PC?
It's all my PC until it's your PC.
Yes, I like that. Okay. Let me see what else we have here. And 7, 8, 9, and 10 is Ultimate Fallout. It would always be a popular book, especially the newsstand. Amazing Spider-Man #1. I think this is the one with, no, it's not the one with Doc Ock. And then we have the Transformers and Spider-Man India, and he was a main character in the most recent Spider-Verse movie with Miles Morales.
Spider-Punk was asked this weekend. Spider-Punk and Spider-Gwen. So
oh, really?
A lot of those books, which they're not showing on the top 10, like Edge of the Spider-Verse #2, the Gwen copy. Dan, I think you actually brought up in one of the last videos talking about the alternate copy or the variant copy that for her, I think that was a good book to get, because it's a lower price point if it still tells you the story. All of those books were really good to get right now, so they were popular. I had the first copy on my wall, and it sold. So, and it wasn't cheap, so it sold.
Do you have any Ultimate Fallout 4s on hand at the moment?
I don't have any on hand. I don't. But
I don't have it either. I was like, yeah, I need that book. Yeah.
I had a couple of vendors that I did see that did have it. But I will say I saw them at the beginning of the show and I saw them at the end of the show.
I have one. It's a 9.8, but it's not.
Oh, you do? Wow.
I have one. It's I sold another one though. Nando, if you ever want to come over to my house, we live kind of close to each other.
Yeah.
Dude, I got so many books.
I know. I need to put some liquid cash in pocket before I come see you, because if not, I'm gonna be leaving my children at your house as equity.
Let me see what else. Now these are just individual books. Actually, I've never seen this cover, but I thought it was so awesome, so I wanted just to highlight it. This is Zatanna, written by Paul Dini, and I think the cover artist is Chad Hardin. Near mint 9.0, 9.4 is sold for $200, and most recent slab looks like it was a 9.6, is at $237. Current trend is up 0.05%. I just think this is a cool looking cover, and that's why I highlighted it. But I've never seen this cover before. I go, dang it, now I want this book.
It looked like from when you first saw Slash.
Oh,
yes.
The guitarist. Yeah, I'm like, oh no, it's not Slash. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was a cool looking cover. That's why I highlighted it. And this one, this is from the original Avengers movie, and most common raw, near mint between 9 and 9.4 was $214. A 9.8 recently went for $525. I went, damn, that's a pretty good price for this book. It's gotten up 0.75%. Current trend. It's a fold-out book, basically. The other characters are on the other side. I will
say the books that I did have set up, I had a short box that had Secret Invasion and Secret Wars all together.
Mm-hmm.
That bin came home emptier than it went. So there was a lot of speculation with with Invasion obviously coming out this week. And it's funny that, because I don't know if Swag is still on anymore, but he brought up the point earlier, like last week, that nobody was talking about it, or that that nobody was really excited about. But yet I was actually able to sell some of those. I had a full, I want to say it was like a good probably 9-0 solid run all the way across the board. Secret Wars 1 first print run, including 8 obviously, but it's a newsstand number 8. And then also the number 1 on Secret Wars was the blue Galactus variant.
Yeah.
So, and I had that run for $300, and I sold it for $300, and it sold.
Wow. Nice. I have like about 10 separate copies of Secret Wars. So you gotta come over to my house, Nando. We'll talk. Let's see what's up next. Uncanny X-Men. This one I was surprised by the pricing of it, man. It's crazy. A 9.8 back in just June 11th of 2023. So for $2,325. I went, dang, for this book? That was crazy. And most current condition, fair market value, fine near mint is $47. So, I think this is the first appearance of the White Queen.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting book. The difference between a 9.6 and 9.6 sold for $436 is the fair market value, and 9.8 is over $2,000. I thought that was crazy, just by a 0.2 of a grade. The difference in pricing for this book.
I had to buy this book because I'm on the hunt every other Friday. I spent over $300 to compete with this one guy, and I lost.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked. I mean, hey, I wanted that book in my collection. I'm trying to get the Claremont run anyway, but I didn't mean to get 2 issues, but I got 2 issues of that. So yeah, paid more than I probably should have.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, if there's ever books you want, Dan, don't be hesitant to message me and see if I got something. Because if I got,
don't think I'm not going to check out your store, man. I seriously, I support people in the community. So you know what I'll do? I'll give you a list because some things I'm looking for. So you're gonna be my eyes and ears. So that's totally fine. I'm still very much in buying mode.
One of my buddies, Manuel Martinez, the artist I would talk to, he's really big in the Treasury Edition books. Like he loves to buy those. Just to read them.
Yeah.
And it's a niche, right? It's a niche market for those.
Right.
There's not a lot of people out there that like them, but for some reason, every time I go to a show, I find them, and I find the good ones, and I send him pictures of what do I want. And he said, you need to stop doing shows because while you're making money, I'm spending money. And it's like literally 5 to 6 books at a time I'm picking up for him. And it's just like, he's like, you got to stop doing this to me. And I'm like, hey, you're the one who told me you wanted them. So
yeah. We got a comment here by Hoodrat. Dan, you guys are still going strong. We're almost done.
Yeah, we're okay. We're almost done. The hardest part is finding something to put these things in.
Yeah.
This is issue that my Defenders here, number 16. And the cool thing about these is the back covers.
Yeah.
But where do you put these? I don't know where I found this plastic sleeve here. But yeah, these are just very, very cool. Very fun.
I used to have all those books, the giant size, really big books. I have no idea what happened to them. Obviously, they were just thrown away, but I used to love them.
Oh, yeah.
Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
Oh, yeah.
I used to love those books.
Hey, what's your view on? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Efren. I'm sorry. I thought we're done with the segment.
A couple more, and these are just quick snapshots of recent sales. I got this from Hip Hop Comics. A Sergeant Fury number 5, a CGC 6.5, sold for $230. Fantastic Four number 61 Kirby Classic was $83, and it just sold for $38.55. And a couple more here.
Underrated.
Fantastic Four number 63. They had originally priced it at $45. It sold for $15.50. And Fantastic Four 68 cover detached was $18. It just sold for $1.25. I'm like, dang, that's nothing.
That kind of supports my suggestion in my segment about the Hulk books, because there's no movie to back them up. These classic Silver Age books are way underpriced, but once the movie, if they do a good job with the movies, they'll quadruple in price.
And do I have any more? These are just some Fantastic Four recent sales.
Oh, I need that one. Oh, no, I have the 50. It's 49 I need.
That 50 is a beautiful cover.
50, for $775. This one's going to go high. Fantastic Four number 6. CGC 5.0, 2,700. We got Submariner and Dr. Doom on the cover, and Power of Him, who just came out on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Adam Warlock, a CGC 8.0, just recently sold for $835. How How many CGC books do you put on your wall, Nando, or is it mostly just rock books?
So I'm seeing a trend that slab books are going down in need or desire. I'm not seeing as many move. Now, granted, that could just be what I have on hand, but I have some consignment books too, that have some really good books. And while they get touched, they get looked at. I'll sell. I can say this last show that I did this last weekend. I had a total of 72 transactions, and out of the 72 transactions, 0 slabs.
Wow.
Wow.
So, and that's all. Every sale that I had was a raw book, and that's just the way it went. That this show, but I mean, previous shows that like Ontario, I think I sold maybe like 10 slabs total for the 2-day event. But there's been shows where I can sell 2 or 3. But shorebox.com for me is my best avenue for slabs. Like, it's done wonders for me. They spotlit me as a valued seller because that I was able to move books through them a lot quicker.
So a number of YouTube shows, and you see like David from Comic Book Investments. He has a constant run of raw comics. He sends to CGC all the time, and he has unboxings and all that. So do you do that at all? Do you send anything to CGC, or because of what you just said with the slabbing market going down regarding sales, are you avoiding buying them, or what's your opinion overall with the slab market?
So I have 1 book at CGC right now. And it's funny that you say that because it's actually a book I got from Efren. He sold me his Teen Titans number 2 96 signed by George Perez.
Oh yes,
so I had it cracked, and I had Marv Wolfman added to it.
Nice.
So now it's double signed with Wolfman and Perez, and it's coming back from CGC. So I will send books to CGC, and I've listened to your guys' comments and opinions on what CGC is. As a retailer and a vendor, I have to go with what sells best. So for me, CGC is the better seller in slabs because I can't sell CBCS to save a life. And that's just where I look at it from that point. But I'm almost more excited to sell books raw than I am slabbed. Because if I undergrade the book and you press it and you clean it and you send it off and it comes back higher, then you're happier and you're more excited. Because you're like, oh my God, it was a better book than I thought it was. That's why when I tell people what condition they're in, I don't give them a number grade. I'll tell them it's either like a low high or a high mid. I'll say that. I won't go grade numbers because I think that does a disservice if it comes back worse than or better than. Like, I want people to be, happy with what they get. But for where I'm at buying wise, it really has to be worth my value. Like, I had somebody come at me with a potentially $20,000 slab collection, and I told him, I said, I can't take that on right now just because I don't see those slabs turning around fast enough for me to take money off of it. And I mean, even though one of them was ASM 129 and it was a 9.4 9.6, I mean, that in itself would have got some money back, but it wouldn't have been the rest of it wouldn't have pulled right away for me. So I have to take that gamble and be like, okay, do I want this or do I not want this right now?
So that
go ahead, Efren.
That book that I sold to you and you had it signed by Marv Wolfman, did you have it clean and pressed again or just graded?
Yeah, cleaned and pressed again.
But you got to tell me what grade you got.
It came back at 9.6 again.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah, still came back at 9.6.
Yeah, cool.
Which was good because it was an older slab. So
Yeah.
I was afraid that maybe like the condition may not be the same or the same condition, and it did. So it still came back at a 9.6. So it's a 9.6 Perez and Wolfman signed book.
Just to let anybody know, if you're my friend and if you buy a book from me, I will give you a good discount because you're my friend. I do take that into account because I don't sell that many books. I put some out every now and then on Instagram. And if you're a friend of mine, I do my best to give you guys a good deal.
And your packaging is top notch.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm one of those people. You gave me a beautiful Ironman 149, 150.
Oh, yeah.
You sold out a huge discount. Man, you didn't have to do that, but it was very, very cool.
And this is just me. I bought these books basically when I was so young. Most of my, like 90% of my books I'm the original owner. If I make a profit, I'm happy with it. I don't have to break the bank. That's just me. That's the way I sell my books because I have over 100 boxes of books, and I was like, I got too many. So that's why I decided finally to start selling some of them.
By the way, on the FF50 there, I've almost had one. Stanley left the sign right on at the beginning of the board, and he would do it so you could see his name very cool on that board. But those are kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
But one last thing about the slabbing market, for me, because my books are so old, they need to be preserved, and that's one of the reasons why I want them to be slabbed. I'm not maybe not all of them, but what CGC has done with changing their classification of what's actually in the slab has really turned me off, and I've become sort of a one-man cheering section for a smaller company for EGS grading. EGS. Although with EGS, the buying and selling is almost non-existent regarding the market. The only reason at this point for EGS, for myself, you buy them, preserve them, and I trust his grading. But I'm surprised to hear you say, Nando, that the slabbing market is going down for you. You're the first to say that. So now I'm going to keep a sharp eye to see if how is that across across the entire market.
And like I said, it could also be like what books I have left, because like a lot of my higher key books or mid key books that I've had, they're gone, right? So I haven't been able to procure replacements like for those or at better levels or anything like that. So it could be with just what I have personally at the time right now. But I mean, there's an X-Men 101 signed, with a remark. I have there's the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man #1 gold variant. I have a Department of Truth right now Todd McFarlane signed book that's a foil variant. That's a 9.8, and there's a couple ones that I have that are just in there that I have right now that are great. I mean, there's a Adam Hughes Harley Quinn 1/25 variant 9.6 signed in multicolor that you don't get very often and see like that. But there's just books there that they're just not moving right now. But like I said, the raw books, there was no problem on those. I mean, I just sold the Thor 134 easy. The guy didn't even argue with me on the pricing. He just got it, took it.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me see if we have any more slides left. Oh, we got 3 more. Hopefully, this is the last 3. I did a lot of slides. And these are just snapshots of current sales. Morbius, the Living Vampire #1, 9.8, just $80. Deadpool #15, just 99 cents. So I go, damn. And then Iron Man #10, CGC 7.5, sold for $100, which I think that's very cheap for a 1968 first series on #10.
And white pages, by the way, too.
Yeah. Anything else? Basically, this segment is anything you guys want to talk about. Besides what we've been talking about now. Nando's probably saying, "Damn it, these guys are going too long, and I want to get out."
Well, let's leave it to Nando. He's our guest. So, Nando, what do you shout out to anything else you want to do regarding your new venture?
Yeah.
One, I just wanted to say thank you guys for bringing me on. It's so fun to to just talk and hang out with you guys. I mean, Efren, obviously I see you in person at shows, and it's always fun to see you. And I'm really appreciative of the words of you saying. You said earlier, you've seen me at every show that I've done so far, basically. So you've seen the progression of my booth setup and how it's gone. But I have a lot of friends in the community that have been supportive of me. And I'm really grateful to them, and they're all believing in me. So that's really fun. But also learning from everybody that I watch and listen to, from Swag to Dan to Efren to Ian was really educational for me. I have a lot of friends like Comic Book Crackhead, that just help me learn more of the business and the industry, so that way I don't look stupid, and it helps. So I take all the feedback I can get because I'm learning every single day. I'm not perfect, but I got to get better, and I got to be the best I can. So I want to be the best I can for the community and for people to have a safe place to be and enjoy where they buy their books, and talk a little bit about me. So that helps me out.
Nice. Dan, you're up. Anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm just happy to have Nando on. Love to have him on again. Also keep us updated on how things are going. When you're taking a risk, maybe not a huge risk, but still, I worry about people like you because, again, you're the one on the line, not me. I'm just the guy buying this stuff. Yeah. But you seem very confident. You seem like you got your act together. I'm looking at the banner behind you. Everything looks so damn attractive, and that's a winning sales pitch. You always want to buy from people that look like they're on the right track and they're actors together because they seem reliable.
Family, everything, and Nando has the support of his family, which I think is very, very important.
Yes,
I think it's going to benefit him, obviously. And I think we are done. Thanks for watching, and Let me get rid of this slide so we can just, there we go. So we are going to be back, like probably Dan, Comic-Con's coming up in a month, so I got to recuperate from that. So I think we're going to try again like the first week of August, to be back. So a little bit over a month.
I hope to see, I wanted to see the Flash movie before tonight. So we'll talk about that. I'm certain I'll see it before next episode. And also, I'd like to do a teaser that let's talk about how I got my collection on a budget. We talked backstage. I think that's an interesting subject because, again, some of these comics are way expensive, and there's a way to do it if you know how to do it. And I've done it. Wasn't easy, but I'll show you my secrets in the next episode.
Yeah, nice. That could be your topic. Dan Talks Comics. You want to talk about that?
I need to take notes on that one so I can fill up my inventory.
I was going to invite you, Nando. If you want to come back in August, I'll shoot you a message too. It's entirely up to you. But I would love to hear how you're, how it is with you selling comic books. How it's going with you. It's a very interesting topic for me. So
yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I'm new and I'm young still at this. Yeah. So obviously there's been vendors that are much more veteran than I am. But I'm taking all the info I can get from everybody, and the feedback I've gotten from veteran leaders and veteran vendors out there that have supported me. They're talking to me and they're like, you're going in the right direction. You got things going in the right area. It looks good. They're like, you don't look like you're just throwing books out of a garage on a table. So it looks good. So
we should be back, like I said, live the first week of August, but I plan to be live again, like about the weekend right before Comic-Con. We're going to do a live video with me, and so far it's going to be James, our comic book doctor, and Ian Hoodrat. Nando, you're welcome to join us, like the weekend right before Comic-Con. We're just going to talk about Comic-Con, what we expect, our opinions of the con from past years gone by. If anybody has any questions, that would be the great time to ask us,
I think it'll be really good. It'll be really interesting to see what's going to happen since Marvel's not going to be there.
Marvel's not going to be there, I know. Yeah.
Wow.
Sideshow Collectibles is not going to be there also, I heard. So
they weren't. I don't remember. I don't think they were there last year.
I don't think so either, but they said they weren't going to be there. There's some other studios that have already said they're not going to be there.
Good. Make it about the books. Make it back about. Bring it back to the artist level. Bring it back to the books. Bring it back to what the whole ground level is, what it's supposed to be. Yeah. Real quick. I know we've been on long, but I have a thing that's going to be in my shop once we get opened up and get going, which is hopefully next year. We're working on that. But I've been doing sketch covers of heroes versus wrestlers. Wrestling was really big in my life growing up as a kid. I have these sketch covers by different artists that all over the place, and whether they're mainstream or non-mainstream artists, there's mashups that we've had that we're doing. The idea is that we're going to post them in the shop with the artist name underneath it, so that way if you want something done, you can reach out to them and get the work done by them. But it's to highlight my love, right? Like you talk about PC, that wall will be my PC because it's literally going to be my idea that we put on a piece of paper to come to life. So those are awesome. I love those sketches. I think I have about 5 or 6 of them done right now, and we have about another 5 or 6 in the works right now getting done. So that's, to me, the cons are about the artists and the books and the stuff like that. It's not about the exclusives. It's not about waiting in line for other things like that. But I'm all about talking to the ground level of what it's all about.
Nice. Are you gonna post them on Instagram when they're done?
I posted a few of them on there already, but I'll send you some pictures for the next time I'm on so you can see them. It started all with Clayton McCormick. He did a Batman versus the Undertaker for me, so that was my favorite one. Yeah. And then Manuel Martinez did a really good one. He did Kane versus Ghost Rider, so that one was a good one too.
Wow.
So when Dan and I did our first show, we lasted for about an hour. We're going out, Dan, we've done 2 hours and 10 minutes. I call it at night. Guys, once again, my name is Ephraim Pascual Comics. The man right next to me is Dan De La Torre, and the person right below me is at the Nando Night. It's a long night. I'm tired. Follow him. Follow all of us on Instagram if you can. Okay? Until next time, everybody, be safe and take care. Bye.
Thanks, guys.